Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. I just saw it, so let's get to it. Okay, so the third movie in this Poohverse. I don't know what they're calling it, but you know that verse out with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. This is the third installment, and look, the first Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Hell, let's just say I hated that movie with a passion. I did not like it at all. Thought it was dumb. Thought it was crap, and I was like, why? And you know what? I was actually kind of excited for that movie because I was like, you know what? This is a new take, but then it kind of felt gimmick. Then we get the second one. And you know what? The second one was an improvement. And I was like, okay. So we're starting to get an improvement here. Things are starting to get better. And I was like, you know what? It didn't come in my top 10 worst films. You know, it was actually, I think it was like, it was a bit up from there. So that was a win. And then we come to Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. One that I think most of us were probably more excited about because, you know, the idea of Peter Pan being an evil dude. So many things you could do with it. So basically the premise of this movie is it's Peter Pan, and he likes to take boys and kill them. Straight up. Now, this movie, it has its pros. I'll tell you that. It has its pros, but it also has its what is going on here. Now, firstly, I just want to say, I wanted to see like this Peter Pan movie really dive into the fantasy aspect because of the lore, the characters, the world that Peter Pan is from, that we are used to seeing in the children's book, in the movies, and everything like that. I really wanted this more fantasy, fantastical feel in here. But obviously, from what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard, is they actually had that in the first script, but the budget restrictions meant they couldn't actually do that. So I understand why they chose to ground this more into this like more realistic version rather than going this fantasy spectacular. So I understand that. So with that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. Now, firstly, the gore is brilliant. I will say that. The practical effects are freaking brilliant as well. There are some scenes in here with a scalping that was mental, arms and limbs getting chopped off, stabbings, all sorts of gruesome stuff that actually looked really good. So, like, some of the actual horror elements and the practical effects in this movie were better than some of the Hollywood, like, big blockbuster ones that we see that use CG and stuff like that. Like, this looked good. When the killing and all that was happening, it felt real. The practical side of the actual face of Peter Pan, freaky, it just, everything about that was fantastic. That I was really enjoying. And I think, look, from when we first saw the very first movie to where they are now with that side of things, you can tell that the budget is getting a little bit better, a little bit higher. And they are getting better. They're getting better. I will say that the practical effects are getting better and better. Like, it looks so much better now in this movie than from the very first one. So I've got to give them props for that. That was fantastic. The kills, again, very, very gross. Very, very gross. And if you want to see that, you're going to get that in this movie. I'm telling you that now. There is a lot of it, and it's very graphic. Very graphic. So don't take your kids. Don't take your kids. This isn't the Peter Pan that you think it is. So another thing that I'm a bit mixed on is Peter Pan himself as a character. Now, while I think the idea of, because I think from what I've heard and read, is he's going to be the big bad, right? The big bad of like the team up movie and stuff like that. They did make a character that you despise, that you absolutely hate. They did do that. They did it really well. You hate this character. He's pure evil at this point because of look, the thing I wanted to dive into more was his ideology. I really wanted to dive into the psyche of this character a lot more. I feel like we've only touched the surface of what is actually this character of Peter Pan. Because, you know, obviously the idea of him taking these boys and then sending them to Neverland is a very weird and interesting concept that I wanted to dive into more so of what gave him this idea. What made him particularly think that he needs to do this? Because a villain some of the best villains you're ever going to see are villains that believe they're heroes of the story, that they are the ones doing the right thing. You get a little sprinkle of that in here. Peter Pan believes what he is doing is the right thing. He believes he's saving these children from the world that they live in right now. Which, if we just had a little bit more development, a little bit more, I feel like it would have made that character a lot better, to a point where you're like, oh damn, here we go. So I'm a little mixed on that, because I would have liked a little bit more of that, and to understand and dive into this character a bit more. Maybe in the future we might get a little bit more of that, but for now, that is one that I'm kind of a bit, okay. Now the tone, they stick with a serious tone in this one. There's no campiness, no nothing. You know, in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, they had that campy feel to it, some like little nods and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, fun. This one is just pure serious slasher serial killer vibes. Like, this is, you're not having fun. This isn't a movie you come to have fun in. I'm telling you that now. This movie is supposed to be just a serious tone. This man is killing kids. That's what he's doing. So I respect them for picking a tone and being consistent and following it. I would have liked a little bit more campiness in here. I feel like you could have, but that's fine. They hey, got to commend them. They stuck to the tone. They went for it. So that's fine. Now, some things in here that kind of are a bit like, you took that straight from another movie and you've added it in here. I can see it. And look, there's nothing wrong with paying homages to other movies and TV shows and everything like that you like. Everyone does it. But there's an actual shot that is almost identical to it. It's at the start of the film. Very much identical to it. Like, I was just like, well, I've seen this before. This, I know what this is. And then you see that this movie also feels like Black Phone in a way, because of the way that it is, you know. There's a kid that we're following and she's trapped and we're following him trying to find a way to escape. It takes very much similar things from the Black Phone that is in here. So you can see a lot of other horror movies and elements from them, shots from them and everything like that are in this movie that they took inspiration from. Maybe a little too much for my liking. I would have liked them to take inspiration from them, but make it their own in a way where it just kind of felt like I was watching, okay, so this could be a rip-off of this movie. They just took this and then they just added these characters in it. So I would like them to be a little bit more original when it comes to that, but I understand what they were trying to go for. Now, the runtime's fine. It's an hour, like an hour and 25 minutes, something like that. It's not long at all. It doesn't feel long. So the pacing is pretty good. The other characters like Wendy and Michael. Michael's the one you spend the most time with, them and Michael and Wendy. They're okay. They're okay characters. We don't really dive into them too much. So there's that. So there's not really that much character development there. The story, an interesting story that could have been flushed out a little bit more. But look, overall, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, it's not the worst in this franchise. I don't think it's better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I still think that one is better than this one. I still wouldn't say this one's great. I don't think it's great. It has some redeeming qualities. It has, like, this is the thing. It has potential. Like, that's the crazy thing. I watched this film and I come out and I'm like, you know what? This has a potential to be an actual pretty decent film. It really does. And look, they're getting better. Like they're tightening things up. They're making things a little bit better here and there. So maybe, just maybe, we might get one that we sit there and go, that was actually really good. Maybe. But look, it is what it is. It was fine. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the worst thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. It's not the worst thing, but it's also not the greatest thing. So let me know what you guys thought. If you guys have seen it, did you guys enjoy it? Smash it down in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.